Welcome back to the deep dive discussion of Brave New World by Aldous Huxley.
Great to be back. Today we're hitting the final chapter, chapter 18, the culmination.
Exactly. This is where all those tensions and themes we've explored, they really just come right to a head, don't they?
They absolutely do. And we're looking not just at Huxley's powerful writing, but also, some of the critical thinking about its impact over the years.
So for you, our listener, get ready for, well, an unflinching look at the tragic end of John the Savage's journey.
And really unpacking what that ending means for these huge ideas like freedom, purity, civilization.
It's powerful, it's unsettling, and ultimately unforgettable. Still sparks debate.
Definitely. So where do we start? We just left that intense confrontation between John and Mustafa Mon.
Right, that philosophical showdown where John argued for essentially the right to be unhappy. So now the aftermath, chapter 18, opens.
How? Well, it opens with a really startling image. We find John emerging from the bathroom described as very pale.
Pale
Because he's just forced himself to vomit using mustard and warm water, his immediate reaction.
Mustard and water, what? What's he trying to achieve?
He tells Helmholtz and Bernard quite starkly, I ate civilization. He says it poisoned him, defiled him. And he adds, quieter, I ate my own wickedness.
Wow, so it's a literal purging, but it sounds deeply symbolic too, cleansing himself of the world state?
Exactly. It's this visceral, almost ritualistic attempt to physically expel the corruption he feels he's absorbed, both from the society and, from his own perceived failures. A shocking start.
A very physical manifestation of that internal agony. Is he trying to purify his soul almost? Maybe undo his feelings about Lenina?
I think that's a key part of it. Some analyses frame this as John performing a kind of primitive atonement, inflicting pain to feel pure again. He's trying to vomit out the moral contamination. It really stems from a profound self-loathing at this point.
Okay, after this purging, he has that farewell scene with Bernard and Helmholtz.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly poignant, isn't it? Bernard actually shows real shame, regret for how he acted.
He does. And despite the sadness of them leaving, there's this brief moment, it seems, of shared affection. Unspoken, but there.
There is. And it makes you think, in this world built on suppressing deep feelings, is this one of the most genuinely human moments we see?
It really stands out, that little flicker of sadness and connection.
It does, though you could also argue its briefness shows just how effective the world state is.
Yeah.
These moments are rare, fleeting. They're still largely trapped, even Bernard.
Good point. Now, John then finds out he can't join them on the islands. Mon refused.
Refused point blank. Wants to continue the experiment, as he calls it, using John.
How does John take that, being called an experiment?
Oh, he's furious, absolutely livid. He shouts, I'm damned if I'll go on being experimented with. It's this ultimate denial of his agency, even in suffering.
So he refuses to be a specimen.
Completely. It's a desperate assertion of self.
Yeah.
And that's what pushes him to say he has to go away anywhere, so long as I can be alone. His bid for real solitude.
And he finds this place an abandoned air lighthouse.
That's right. Ferro-concrete. Between Putnam and Elstead in Surrey, described as being in excellent condition.
Excellent condition. But that bothers him, doesn't it?
And immediately, his conscience kicks in. He thinks it's almost too comfortable, too civilizedly luxurious.
So even in escaping civilization, he feels, what? Guilty about comfort.
Precisely. He vows to compensate with harder self-discipline, more thorough purifications. It's like he can't escape that need to earn his existence through suffering, even when he's trying to be free. An inverted conditioning, almost.
Right, rejecting comfort as a vice, just like the world state rejects pain. It's a deep conflict. So he's alone in the lighthouse. What happens that first night?
What's intense? He deliberately spends it, sleepless, on his knees, praying.
Praying to whom?
To everyone, it seems. Jesus, Owanawalona from the Zuni beliefs, Pukong, even his guardian eagle spirit. He holds his arms out in a voluntary crucifixion until the pain is agonizing.
Voluntary crucifixion.
And he keeps repeating, oh, forgive me, oh, make me pure, oh, help me to be good, just over and over until he faints from the pain. It's this desperate, almost frantic plea for atonement.
That's incredibly extreme, this desperate need for purity.
It is. And even after that, he questions if he's earned the right to be there. He looks at the beautiful view the next day and thinks it's too pampered for him, that he deserves a filthy sty. That self-loathing runs deep.
It really does. But then he finds a little bit of peace, right? Making tools.
He does, for a moment.
Yeah.
He makes a bow and arrows, and the text highlights the intense pleasure he gets from the skill and patience involved. Such a contrast to London's push-button ease.
It's his attempt to connect with something real, something tangible, manual work.
Exactly, reconnecting with that natural life he values. A brief moment of, maybe, self-sufficiency. But it's so fragile.
How is it broken?
By joy, ironically.
Yeah.
He catches himself singing while working and is instantly flooded with guilt.
Guilt.
He remembers Linda. Her death, how he treated her near the end, those loathsome twins mocking her, his vow to always remember and make amends, and he feels he broke that vow by being happy, even for a second.
Oh, wow. So happiness itself feels like a betrayal.
To him, in that moment, yes. And his reaction, back to purification, he goes inside, gets the mustard, boils water, implies he drinks it again.
And it's right after this self-punishment that his solitude ends.
Oh, yes. 3 Delta-minus land workers stumble upon him. He's stripped to the waist, whipping himself violently with a knotted cord.
Whipping himself.
Viciously. His back is described as horizontally streaked with crimson, blood trickling down. The workers are just stunned, whispering forward.
And word gets out.
Instantly, this display of raw suffering, it becomes news. 3 days later, the reporters arrive. The text calls them turkey buzzards settling on a corpse.
Grim imagery. So his private agony is about to become public spectacle.
Exactly. This is the turning point, the beginning of his tragedy being commodified.
And we meet Primo Mellon from the hourly radio with that hat.
Oh, that hat. The aluminum stovepipe hat that's also a mobile broadcasting unit.
Yeah.
Antenna, microphone popping out like a jack-in-the-box. It's peak world state absurdity mixed with invasive tech.
Perfect description. And what does Mellon want?
The usual intrusive questions. Why did he leave London? What about that whip? And what I think of the civilized girl, meaning Lenina.
How does John respond to that?
Not with words Mellon understands.
Yeah.
He shouts 5 words in his native tongue. Hani, son's esotsana, and then gives the reporter a prodigious kick right on the Cossacus.
He kicked him. That must have made headlines.
Oh, it did. Hourly radio reporter has Cossacus kicked by mystery savage. His pain is instantly trivialized into sensationalism.
And other reporters follow.
They do, and meet with increasing violence from John. One tries to reason with him the world state way.
How so?
Tells him evil's an unreality if you take a couple of grams, and pain's a delusion, just repeating the official conditioning.
How does John handle that piece of advice?
Picks up a thick hazel switch and literally drives the reporter away. Then he sees a helicopter hovering, full of sightseers, and shoots an arrow straight into its aluminum floor.
An arrow against a helicopter. Talk about a futile gesture.
It is, isn't it? It shows his defiance, sure, but also his utter powerlessness against this system. He's using primitive tools against overwhelming technology. It's symbolic of his whole struggle, really. David versus Goliath, but Goliath isn't even flinching.
Does shooting the helicopter keep them away for a bit?
It does, for a while. They keep their distance after that.
Yeah.
But the peace, well, it doesn't last.
Because the internal struggle continues. The thoughts of Lenina.
Exactly. He's digging in his garden, trying to focus on thoughts of death, of Linda, maybe trying to maintain that state of penitence. But then suddenly, Lenina's image floods his mind. Naked and tangible, the book says.
So his desire for her just overwhelms him.
Completely. He tries to fight it, throws himself into thorny juniper bushes, trying to use physical pain to drive out the mental image, the desire. But it doesn't work. She remains unescapably real.
This battle between his conditioning about purity and his very human desires, it's tearing him apart.
It really is. And it explodes into action. He grabs the whip again.
And whips himself.
Yes, but this time, with every lash, he's screaming, "Strumpet!" as if he's beating Lenina herself. White, warm, scented, infamous Lenina. Then his voice breaks.
Yeah.
He's crying out, "Linda, forgive me, God, I'm bad, I'm wicked." It's raw, disturbing. He's attacking himself and the image of Lenina simultaneously.
An incredibly violent expression of that internal war. And crucially, he's not alone when this happens.
Not at all. Unbeknownst to him, this entire breakdown, this astonishing performance is being filmed.
By whom?
Darwin Bonaparte, the Feely Corporation's most expert big game photographer. He'd been hiding for days, apparently, inside a fake tree, burying microphones, using telescopic cameras, slow motion, sound recording, the works.
A big game photographer, hunting human suffering. That's chilling.
It's the ultimate commodification, isn't it? Bonaparte is thrilled, calls the footage splendid and grand. John's deepest, most private agony is captured, edited, and turned into entertainment.
And this becomes the Savage of Surrey, Feely.
That's the one. Released just 12 days later. Huge hit across Western Europe. Immediate and enormous effect.
So the world state doesn't just suppress difficult emotions.
It packages them,
Yeah.
monetizes them, turns genuine pain into a consumable product.
Yeah.
Your suffering becomes a box office smash. It's perhaps the most insidious form of control shown in the book.
And you have to ask yourself, listener, how different is that from viral videos of people's lowest moments today, that consumption of real pain?
It's an uncomfortable parallel. And the film has immediate consequences for John.
The helicopters return.
A great swarm of them. Hundreds of sightseers descend, drawn by the feelie, and they treat him like, well, like an animal in a zoo.
How so?
Throwing peanuts at him, packets of sex-hormone chewing gum, demanding he perform. They want to see the whipping stunt live.
They want an encore of his self-torture. That's grotesque.
It is. They're completely desensitized, conditioned only for spectacle. They start chanting, "We want the whip, we want the whip," in this heavy rhythm. It's described as a kind of unanimity, a rhythmical atonement, a truly perverted ritual.
And then things escalate even further. Another helicopter arrives.
And Lenina steps out.
Lenina herself. Oh no. How does John react?
He recoils, goes pale. She stands there, uncertain, smiling, this imploring, almost abject smile, tears in her eyes, reaching out to him.
And John?
He snaps, completely loses it, rushes at her, screaming, "Strumpet!" Again, "Fichu!" which is like an old word for a polecat, very insulting, and he starts slashing at her with the whip.
He attacks Lenina with the whip in front of everyone.
Yes. And the crowd, they love it. Delighted excitement. The text says pain was a fascinating horror.
They don't try to stop him.
No. They get swept up in it. They start mimicking his frenzy, hitting each other, chanting, "Kill it, kill it." Then someone starts the orgy-porgy chant.
Oh, the solidarity service chant. Here.
Yes. It devolves into this mass orgy. Dancing, chanting, beating each other. Caught up in this frenzy John started, a collective depraved orgy of atonement. It's the world state's ultimate triumph, maybe. Channeling even this raw violence and suffering back into their kind of controlled, meaningless release.
Turning genuine horror into just another communal high. Utterly bleak. What happens after that?
The next morning, John wakes up. He's described as stupefied by soma and exhausted by a long-drawn frenzy of sensuality.
So he participated in the orgy after attacking Lenina.
The implication is strong. He remembers everything. The whipping, the crowd, the orgy, everything. And the weight of it crushes him. He just cries out, "Oh my God, my God." Utter despair.
That final despair. Is that his final defeat, or is there something else there? Is it the world state winning, breaking him completely?
That's the huge question, isn't it? You could absolutely read it as the world state's ultimate victory. They took his striving for purity, his desire for meaning, and twisted it into this horrific spectacle and participation. He couldn't resist being contaminated.
But could his despair itself be authentic? Something the world state can't just soma away.
That's the other interpretation. That this profound agony, this complete recognition of what he's become and what the world is a deeply human response that escapes their control. It's a final, albeit devastating, assertion of his difference, his soul, even in its ruin.
A terrifying choice of interpretations. And how does it end? The very end of the chapter.
The helicopters return the next evening. More sightseers, drawn by the news of the orgy of atonement. They're calling for Mr. Savage, expecting another show.
But there's no answer.
Silence. The lighthouse door is ajar. They go in, and they see his feet, just his feet, dangled from an archway.
Dangling.
Slowly turning. The description is chilling, like two unhurried compass needles. North, northeast, east, southeast.
He hang himself?
The implication is undeniable. Suicide, his final act. Choosing death over continued existence in that world, over being their spectacle any longer.
A final, tragic assertion of agency, maybe? Choosing his own end?
Perhaps. It's a stark, haunting conclusion. A powerful statement on the cost of manufactured happiness, the suppression of truth, and the impossibility of reconciling authentic human suffering with a world designed to eliminate it.
So, reflecting on this final chapter, what are we left with? It's not exactly hopeful.
No. It's deeply unsettling. It forces us, you, the listener, to confront difficult questions about freedom, humanity, the price of stability. Is a life without pain truly living? Or is it, as John seemed to feel, a kind of death in itself?
John's journey highlights that clash, doesn't it, between his values and the world state's. Irreconcilable.
Completely. And it leaves us wondering about our own world, the pursuit of comfort, the avoidance of pain, the way suffering can become entertainment. How much of Huxley's warning resonates today?
That idea that pain is a delusion, evil is unreal if you just take something, feels disturbingly relevant sometimes.
It does. The book doesn't give easy answers, but it certainly makes you think about the value we place on genuine experience versus controlled stability. What are we willing to trade away?
A profound and disturbing question to end on.
Indeed. It's a masterpiece for a reason. It stays with you.
Thank you for joining us as we discuss this stunning masterpiece.